A stranger at the door. Jason Reed's life was simple. He lived alone in a small, quiet house at the edge of a sleepy town. Each day was nearly the same. Wake up, go to work at the local bookstore, then return home to read novels about far-off worlds. He never imagined he'd become part of a story stranger than any he'd ever read. On a peaceful evening, Jason sat by his window, reading a sci-fi novel under the soft glow of his lamp. Stars twinkled gently above, filling the dark sky. It was the perfect night. Quiet, calm, and ordinary. But suddenly, a bright flash lit up the street outside. Jason jumped from his chair, heart racing. He pushed back the curtain, squinting into the brightness. Outside, he saw something impossible. A sleek, silver spaceship had silently appeared, floating a few feet above the ground, bathing his small house in dazzling blue light. "What the?" Jason whispered in shock. His legs felt like jelly, but curiosity pulled him forward. He rushed to the front door and stepped out onto the porch, eyes wide in disbelief. The spaceship hummed softly. Its smooth metal surface shimmered under the starlight. Jason couldn't move, paralyzed by a mix of fear and awe. Then, a doorway appeared silently on the ship's side, sliding open smoothly. From within the bright interior, a figure slowly emerged. Jason took a step back, his breath catching sharply. Standing before him was a woman unlike anyone he had ever seen. Her skin had a soft, silvery glow, marked with thin, delicate lines of blue energy that gently pulsed beneath the surface. Long, silky hair flowed down her shoulders, midnight black with hints of deep violet shimmering in the moonlight. Her eyes were piercing, emerald green and glowing faintly, and parts of her body appeared mechanical, fused seamlessly with flesh, clearly marking her as something more than human. "Jason," she spoke softly, her voice melodic yet firm, filled with both relief and warmth. "I finally found you." Jason swallowed hard, confusion overtaking his initial shock. Who are you?" he managed to say, his voice shaking. She took a gentle step toward him, her eyes filled with emotion. "I am Elysia," she said gently. "I'm your wife." Jason's mouth fell open in disbelief. He laughed nervously, certain he'd misheard her. "My wife," he repeated slowly, shaking his head. "No, that can't be right. I've never even seen you before." Elysia stepped closer, her expression filled with sorrow and compassion. "I know you don't remember," she said quietly, "but I promise, everything I say is true. I've searched for so long to find you." Jason took another cautious step back, confusion swirling inside him. "Look, I don't know what this is, some prank or joke, but you've got the wrong person." Before Elysia could respond, a piercing alarm suddenly sounded from her ship, breaking the silence of the night. Her expression shifted instantly from gentle warmth to urgent concern. "They found me," she whispered anxiously, glancing back at the open doorway of her spaceship. "Who found you?" Jason asked, heart racing again with fear. She turned back to Jason, urgency clear in her glowing green eyes. "There's no time to explain here. We must move now." Jason hesitated, unsure whether to trust this strange woman. Before he could reply, the night sky lit up again, this time with streaks of bright red. Another craft swooped down, dark and menacing. It hovered above them, clearly aggressive, aiming sharp beams of red laser light straight at Elysia's spaceship. "Run," Elysia shouted, grabbing Jason's arm with surprising strength. Jason felt he had no choice. He raced beside her as they fled across his front yard, narrowly escaping a fiery explosion as the enemy's laser struck near them. Dirt and smoke filled the air as Jason coughed, stumbling forward. "This way," Elysia called, leading Jason toward a nearby wooded area at the edge of his neighborhood. As they ducked into the trees, Jason's mind raced with questions. Who was Elysia, truly? Who were these beings hunting her? And what had he gotten himself into? Deeper within the cover of trees, Elysia finally paused, leaning against a large tree, breathing heavily. Jason stared at her, still struggling to believe this was real. The serene life he once had was now shattered in mere minutes. "Elijah, please," he said breathlessly, desperate for answers. "What is going on? Why are these people after you? And why are you calling me your husband?" Elijah reached out gently, touching his cheek with delicate, careful fingers. "Jason," she whispered softly, sadness deep in her eyes. "We have shared memories and a life together that has somehow been stolen from you. You're not the person you think you are." Jason shook his head, overwhelmed. "But how? Why can't I remember?" Before Elijah could explain further, they heard voices nearby. Harsh, alien voices, filled with hostility. The hunters were close. Elijah took Jason's hand again, determined and fierce. "I promise, I'll explain everything. But first, we must survive." Heart pounding, Jason nodded, knowing he had no other choice but to trust this mysterious stranger, this cyborg who claimed to be his wife, as impossible as it seemed. Together, they plunged deeper into the darkness, running toward an uncertain future filled with danger and secrets yet to be revealed. Unbelievable truth. The night air felt cold, and Jason's heartbeat pounded in rhythm. With every frantic step, they took deeper into the forest. Elijah's silver skin shimmered faintly, illuminating the darkness as she moved gracefully through the shadows, guiding him forward. Every question Jason had seemed trapped in his throat, his mind racing with confusion. They finally stopped near a rocky outcrop hidden by thick bushes, far enough from danger. For now. Elijah glanced around, eyes alert and glowing softly with emerald intensity. Jason sank down against the rock, breathing heavily, eyes wide with disbelief. He still couldn't fully grasp the bizarre reality unfolding around him. After a silent pause, he finally gathered the courage to speak. "Elijah, please, just tell me, who exactly are you?" She turned toward him, studying him closely, her eyes tender and full of sorrow. "I am your wife, Jason. It might sound impossible, but we shared a life together, on another world, in another time. They erased everything you ever knew about us, about yourself. Someone didn't want you remembering who you really are." Jason shook his head, overwhelmed, feeling dizzy with disbelief. "I don't understand. I'm just an ordinary guy. I work at a bookstore. I live alone. How could I be someone else entirely?" Elijah knelt beside him, taking his trembling hand gently. Her touch was warm, strangely comforting despite her partly mechanical nature. "You weren't always like this," she said softly, compassion in her voice. "We met years ago, Jason. You were a guardian, a peacekeeper of the galaxy, someone important, brave, and selfless. But something went wrong, terribly wrong. Your memories were deliberately wiped clean. Whoever did this didn't count on one thing: me finding you again." Jason searched her eyes for deceit, for any sign that she was lying, but saw only truth reflected back at him. "But why? Why erase my memories? And why leave me here, living an entirely false life?" Elijah took a small device from her wrist, holding it up carefully. A soft blue hologram appeared above her palm, shimmering gently. Jason watched with wide eyes as scenes flashed clearly before him. Moments of laughter, joy, and tenderness. He saw himself smiling, holding Elijah's hand tightly, walking under an alien sky filled with brilliant violet stars. Tears burned the corners of his eyes. These moments felt familiar yet distant, as though part of a dream he'd long forgotten. "Do you recognize any of this?" Elijah whispered softly, watching Jason's reaction carefully. "These were our happiest times." Jason stared deeply into the images, trying desperately to recall something. Anything, but frustration gripped him. "I don't know. It's familiar somehow, but I don't remember living it. How can memories exist if I never lived them?" She reached forward gently, placing a finger on his temple, her eyes sad yet determined. "Because they're still in there, locked deep within your mind, hidden away. They took them from you, but I know a way to unlock them. We must find someone who can help." Jason looked up sharply, curiosity and hope breaking through his confusion. "Who?" "A hacker named Orion," Alicia explained quietly, glancing nervously into the dark woods around them. "He lives on a distant outpost, far beyond Earth, on the edge of civilized space. He specializes in memory recovery, but he's dangerous, and his methods aren't always gentle." Jason hesitated, conflicted emotions churning inside him. Was he really about to leave everything behind to follow a cyborg stranger he hardly knew? Yet, deep inside, a powerful curiosity stirred, a yearning to know who he truly was. "If what you're saying is true, then I have no choice," he finally admitted. "But can I trust you, Alicia?" Her green eyes softened, glistening gently in the starlight as she nodded slowly. "I've searched the galaxy for years, risking my life to find you again. I promise, Jason, I would never harm you." Their moment was suddenly interrupted as distant lights swept through the trees. Angry, harsh alien voices called out, closing in. Alicia immediately stood, urgency returning to her expression. "They're tracking my energy signature. We have to move quickly." Jason rose to his feet, his heart pounding with newfound purpose. "Tell me who's chasing us. Who are these aliens?" Alicia glanced back anxiously, eyes narrowing in suspicion. "They're bounty hunters, hired by the very people who erased your memories. They know what we can uncover. They won't stop until they silence us both." Without another word, Jason nodded, suddenly aware that his life, simple and ordinary until tonight, had shifted forever. He no longer had the luxury of hesitating. Now, survival depended on trust and courage. Together, they sprinted further into the dark woods, heading toward an uncertain future. Jason still wasn't sure exactly who he was or what awaited him, but for the first time in his life, he felt the powerful thrill of purpose, a truth hidden somewhere out there, waiting for him to discover. The answers were among the stars, and he knew he had no choice but to follow this strange cyborg woman who claimed, against all logic, to be his wife. Lost memories. The universe stretched endlessly ahead as the small spaceship soared silently through the starry void, carrying Jason and Alicia toward the remote outpost where Orion awaited. Inside the cramped ship, Jason sat quietly, staring out the window at the swirling stars. His mind spun with unanswered questions and tangled emotions. Only hours earlier, he was a bookstore employee living a predictable life. Now, he was hurtling through space beside a mysterious alien cyborg claiming to be his long-forgotten wife. Alicia piloted the craft expertly, her fingers gliding across the controls with graceful precision. Occasionally, she glanced at Jason, sensing the storm of confusion raging inside him. She could feel his doubts, even without words, but she knew that to reclaim their past, she had to earn his trust slowly, one step at a time. Jason broke the silence, finally turning his eyes away from the stars. "Tell me about Orion," he said quietly, voice filled with cautious curiosity. "Why is he our best chance?" Alicia glanced at Jason, her emerald eyes thoughtful. "Orion is not your typical hacker," she explained. "Once, he worked for the Galactic Peacekeepers, just like you. But his experiments became too dangerous, too unpredictable. He specialized in uncovering hidden memories, secrets people would kill to keep buried." Jason felt a chill run down his spine. "And you trust him?" Alicia hesitated for a brief moment, considering her response carefully. "I trust his skill, but Orion has his own secrets. We must be cautious. If he suspects you're valuable to powerful people, he could become dangerous." Jason sighed deeply, leaning back in his seat. Trust was becoming a scarce resource. "What about these memories of mine? Are you certain they're real? Not some kind of trick?" Alicia gently tapped her temple, where delicate lines of blue energy flowed beneath silvery skin. "Your memories are real. I carry them within me. We were bonded long ago through a memory transfer ritual, common among my people when we commit to someone we love deeply." Jason stared at her, stunned. You have my memories inside you. She nodded slowly, eyes reflecting sadness and affection. I preserved our memories after yours were taken. They guided me back to you. But they're incomplete. Only you can unlock the rest. The ship's controls suddenly flashed red, signaling proximity to their destination. A floating structure, immense and intimidating, appeared through the cockpit window. Its tangled web of metal and blinking lights hovered in the darkness, surrounded by the wreckage of abandoned spacecraft. The distant outpost was lawless, a dangerous haven for pirates, thieves, and those desperate enough to hide from powerful authorities. Elysia guided their small ship skillfully into an empty docking bay, landing gently and silently. Stay close, she whispered urgently as they stepped out, and don't trust anyone. Jason followed carefully, heart pounding with adrenaline. Everywhere around them, strange creatures and shady figures watched cautiously from the shadows, their eyes glowing with suspicion. Elysia moved confidently, masking her unease beneath a calm facade. Jason admired her bravery, but wondered privately if he could ever be that strong. They soon reached a small hidden corridor. A heavy metal door stood closed ahead, illuminated by flickering orange lights. Elysia knocked twice, a specific, careful rhythm. A small panel slid open, revealing two suspicious golden eyes peering out. Elysia, a rough voice whispered from inside. Didn't think I'd ever see you again. Orion, Elysia replied calmly, we need your help. The door opened slowly, revealing a rugged, weathered man whose face bore deep scars. Orion studied Jason carefully, eyes narrowed. You brought trouble to my doorstep, he muttered. But if you're here, that means you've got no other option. Orion led them inside his hidden workshop, cluttered with strange equipment, holographic displays, and alien technology Jason couldn't begin to understand. Without wasting a moment, Orion motioned Jason to sit on a worn leather chair surrounded by monitors. If your memories were buried, Orion explained bluntly, it was for a reason. This will be painful. You might see things you're not ready for. Jason nodded slowly, steeling himself. I need to know who I really am. Orion glanced at Elysia, then placed a metallic headset carefully onto Jason's head, wires trailing to complex machines humming quietly. Prepare yourself, Orion warned gravely. Once we start, there's no turning back. Jason closed his eyes tightly, feeling pulses of energy surging through him. Images suddenly flashed through his mind, moments he'd never known existed. Battles, friendships, and impossible love unfolded rapidly. He saw himself wearing unfamiliar armor, standing bravely in alien worlds. Pain flooded his mind, mingling with brief flashes of joy, despair, and heartache. But before he could grasp the memories clearly, an alarm shattered the silence. Orion turned sharply toward his monitors, cursing under his breath. They tracked you, he shouted angrily, glaring at Elysia. You've doomed us all. Elysia pulled Jason from the chair, panic in her eyes. We have to run. Now. The door shook violently from powerful blows. Someone had found them, determined to silence Jason and Elysia forever. As they raced toward a hidden escape route, Jason felt dread gripping him. His memories had begun to resurface, but they carried darkness, pain, and truths he feared he wasn't ready to face. Secrets of the mind. Chaos erupted behind them as Elysia pulled Jason swiftly through Orion's hidden escape tunnel. Behind them, violent pounding echoed loudly, mixed with alien voices barking commands. Orion sealed the heavy blast door quickly, buying precious seconds. This way, Orion shouted, leading them into a dimly lit passage barely wide enough to squeeze through. Jason's breath came fast, his pulse roaring in his ears. They stumbled through darkness, following Orion's hurried pace, guided only by thin strips of faint blue light embedded into the corridor walls. Jason's mind swirled chaotically. Fragments of the newly unlocked memories flashed repeatedly, teasing him with glimpses of a life he'd forgotten. He saw vivid moments of standing bravely in unfamiliar battlefields, wearing the uniform of a galactic peacekeeper. There was joy there, but also betrayal, deep sorrow, and pain. He struggled to keep up, feeling weak and overwhelmed. "Where are we going?" Jason gasped, trying to steady himself against the wall. Elysia placed a comforting hand on his shoulder, her green eyes shimmering gently. "A hidden hangar," Orion explained quickly. "But we must hurry. They've found our trail." They emerged into an enormous hidden bay, lit dimly with flickering lights. A small, agile starship rested quietly in the shadows, ready for departure. Orion moved rapidly, entering commands into a console. "Get inside," he ordered sharply. Elysia guided Jason aboard the sleek vessel as Orion's hands flew over the controls. A metallic groan echoed through the hangar as the ship's engines hummed to life. Behind them, soldiers broke into the bay, firing energy weapons wildly. The ship jolted violently as Orion quickly launched, soaring through a narrow opening, escaping into the safety of space. Minutes later, the distant outpost shrank into the blackness behind them. Orion turned, visibly furious, confronting Elysia. "You brought the most dangerous hunters in the galaxy straight to my doorstep," he growled angrily. "Why risk all this for him?" Elysia stood firmly, her voice clear and resolute. "Because Jason isn't who they made him believe he was. If we can restore his memories, the truth could change everything." Jason watched, uneasy as Orion's hard eyes softened slightly. Finally, Orion sighed, shaking his head. "Then let's finish what we started." In the ship's cramped medical chamber, Jason again found himself connected to Orion's strange machinery. Anxiety churned in his stomach as Orion began the process again, caution in every movement. "Your memories were intentionally locked away," Orion explained slowly. "Protected by powerful encryption, a defense mechanism meant to prevent anyone from restoring them. But once unlocked fully, you might learn things you're not ready for. Are you prepared to see your truth?" Jason hesitated only briefly, then nodded with determination. "I have to know who I am, who I really was." Orion initiated the device. Pain surged briefly through Jason's skull, but this time he focused, determined not to pull away. Gradually, images flooded his mind. Clearer, sharper. Jason gasped, eyes wide as buried memories exploded vividly into consciousness. He saw himself younger, happier, proudly serving as a galactic peacekeeper, respected, loved. Then memories darkened. He saw himself discovering Earth's leaders conducting horrifying experiments on alien prisoners, stealing their technology to dominate other worlds. He recalled his desperate attempt to expose the truth, only to be betrayed, captured, and tortured. His own leaders forcibly erased his mind, stripping him of his identity, abandoning him on Earth, powerless and forgotten. Tears streamed silently down Jason's face. The painful betrayal felt unbearably real. Elysia stepped close, gently taking his hand. "Jason," she whispered softly, "I'm sorry. I couldn't prevent what happened to you. By the time I discovered what they'd done, you'd vanished. I've searched ever since." Jason trembled, emotion surging in his chest. "You never gave up looking for me," he whispered quietly, realizing her sincerity for the first time. "You risked your life. Why?" Elysia leaned forward, her eyes intense yet gentle. "Because you would have done the same for me." Their brief connection was interrupted abruptly. A sharp alarm blared through the ship. Orion cursed loudly from the cockpit. "They're tracking us again. Our hiding spot won't stay safe for long." Jason rose swiftly, newfound strength blazing inside him. His lost memories restored a sense of purpose he'd never felt before. "We can't keep running forever," he said, determination filling his voice. "These people took everything from me. They stole my past, our lives. It's time we fight back." Orion stared at Jason, skeptical yet impressed. "You're bold, but you don't understand what you're facing. Earth's elite will stop at nothing to protect their secrets." Jason met Orion's gaze, fearless. "I understand now. They made one mistake. They left me alive. They underestimated Elysia. Together, we'll uncover their crimes." Elysia stepped to Jason's side, her green eyes filled with quiet pride. "We can expose them, Orion, but we'll need your help." Orion hesitated, the weight of the decision clearly visible on his face. Finally, he nodded sharply, accepting the dangerous path they'd chosen. "Then we head back to Earth, but be warned, there's no turning back. You're declaring war." Jason didn't flinch. For the first time since his ordinary life had shattered, he finally knew who he was and what he had to do. "They erased my memories," he said fiercely, "but not my will to fight. It's time humanity knew the truth." Together, the three allies stood united as their ship turned sharply, speeding through space toward Earth. They raced forward, ready to confront a powerful enemy that had stolen Jason's life. But this time, he was prepared, memories restored, fear replaced by courage, ready for a confrontation that would change the future forever. Betrayed from within. Jason's pulse quickened as the small starship descended quietly toward Earth, concealed by darkness and a shroud of clouds. Beside him, Elysia sat silently, her usually calm features tense. Orion guided the ship expertly, carefully avoiding detection by Earth's sophisticated sensors. The truth Jason had uncovered about his betrayal by Earth's government weighed heavily upon him, darkening his thoughts. When the ship landed safely, hidden in dense forest just outside Jason's old hometown, the three companions stepped out cautiously into the chilly night. Memories flooded Jason's mind, powerful and bittersweet. This was where he'd lived his false, quiet life, completely unaware of who he once was. Orion activated his scanning device, checking for hidden threats. "We're clear, for now," he whispered, but his voice carried clear doubt. "But remember, the people hunting you are everywhere. They'll do anything to bury their secrets again." Jason nodded, scanning the dark tree line nervously. "We have to move quickly. If we reach the government archives, we'll find proof, enough to expose everything they've done." Elysia stepped closer, her green eyes glowing faintly in the darkness. She gently squeezed Jason's hand, offering comfort. "We're ready. You've faced worse. We'll get through this together." Jason felt gratitude swell in his chest. With Elysia beside him, he felt stronger, braver. Yet doubt lingered. The people who betrayed him once could easily do it again. He forced down his fear and led the way, navigating carefully through familiar streets under the cover of darkness. The government archives were housed inside a heavily secured compound, a massive building protected by towering walls, laser grids, and armed guards. Jason paused, anxiety gripping him momentarily. But Orion quickly went to work, expertly disabling security cameras and sensors. They moved quietly, slipping unseen through shadowed corridors. Inside, the archives stretched endlessly, row after row of databanks, computers blinking quietly, humming with secrets long hidden. Orion began rapidly searching the main database, expertly bypassing firewalls as Elysia stood watch. Jason's heart pounded. They were so close, but something felt wrong. Too easy. Moments later, Orion froze suddenly, fingers stopping mid-motion on the keyboard. "This can't be right," he whispered urgently. "What?" Jason asked, sensing dread. "What is it?" Orion turned sharply, his eyes narrowing dangerously. "Someone knew we'd come here. These files are fake, decoys placed deliberately." A cold chill raced down Jason's spine. A trap. Before Orion could reply, bright lights flashed on, flooding the room. Jason shielded his eyes, blinded momentarily. Armed soldiers rushed in, surrounding them, weapons aimed directly. From behind the line of troops stepped forward a familiar figure, someone Jason knew from his previous life, his old mentor and friend, Commander Robert Mills. "Jason," Commander Mills greeted calmly, his voice cool and emotionless. "We've been expecting you." Anger surged through Jason, fists clenching tightly. "You betrayed me, Jason growled bitterly, eyes filled with disbelief. Why? Commander Mills shook his head, regret flickering momentarily across his stern features. You couldn't leave things alone, Jason. You had to dig into secrets you should never have known. They were innocent beings. Jason shouted, feeling rage and grief mixing painfully within him. You experimented on alien prisoners, took their technology, lied to everyone. Mills' eyes hardened, no longer showing regret. Only ruthless determination. Sacrifices were necessary for humanity's dominance. He replied coldly. You refuse to understand. So we remove your memories, giving you a quiet life. It would have stayed peaceful if not for her, he said, pointing accusingly at Elysia. Jason stepped protectively before Elysia, defiance burning brightly in his eyes. You erased my memories, betrayed me, but you can't hide the truth forever. I'll never stop fighting. Mills smiled grimly. Then you'll die. At his command, soldiers stepped closer, weapons primed. But suddenly, Elysia moved swiftly, faster than human eyes could follow. Her cybernetic enhancements activated, releasing a powerful energy burst, momentarily stunning the soldiers. Chaos erupted instantly. Run! Elysia shouted urgently, pulling Jason toward a nearby exit as Orion fought desperately, firing his own weapon and covering their retreat. Laser blasts flashed past, barely missing them. They raced through narrow hallways, alarms blaring loudly. Finally reaching an emergency exit, Jason burst through into the fresh night air, Elysia close behind. Orion stumbled out seconds later, breathing heavily. Where can we go now? Jason asked desperately, realizing their one chance at exposing Earth's secrets had been sabotage. Elysia turned sharply toward him, determination clear in her bright eyes. We're not done yet. They kept you alive because of something hidden in your memories. They fear you, Jason. That fear means you have something they desperately need. Jason paused, suddenly understanding the deeper meaning of Mills' betrayal. Then maybe there's a way to turn their fear against them. Orion nodded grimly, accepting the risk. We need to broadcast the truth publicly, galaxy-wide. But to do that, we'll need a powerful transmitter, one they can't silence. Elysia nodded quickly. There's one on my ship, but it'll mean risking everything. Jason didn't hesitate this time, courage clear in his voice. I've already lost everything once. I won't let them win again. Together, the three companions raced swiftly toward Elysia's hidden ship. Jason's mind was clear, his purpose sharpened. Betrayed, hunted, yet determined, he knew now that the fight wasn't only about his memories. It was about justice, truth, and reclaiming a life stolen from him. As they disappeared into the darkness, Jason swore silently to himself that Earth's dark secrets would be exposed. Those who betrayed him would answer for what they'd done. Truth and consequences. Jason's heart thundered in his chest as Elysia's small starship streaked swiftly toward Earth's orbit. Beside him, Elysia worked rapidly at the controls, her silvery fingers moving with expert precision, eyes shining fiercely with determination. Orion monitored communications nervously, aware that Earth's authorities were likely already mobilizing to stop them. Their mission was simple, yet daunting. Broadcast humanity's darkest secrets to the galaxy. Jason now held the full burden of truth. Memories of betrayal, horrific experiments, and ruthless manipulation by Earth's most powerful leaders. Every detail burned clearly in his mind, fueling his resolve. Elysia glanced at Jason, sensing his turmoil. You're doing the right thing, she said quietly, offering him strength. The galaxy must know what they've done. Jason nodded, taking comfort from her words, yet his hands trembled, not from fear, but from the enormity of the choice before him. Exposing humanity's secrets would forever change Earth's place among the stars. Still, it was the only way justice could prevail. As the ship reached its position above Earth, a warning flashed urgently across the screens. Orion cursed sharply. They're onto us. Incoming fighters. Fast. Elysia reacted instantly, banking the ship sharply sideways to evade the approaching squadron. Lasers sliced through space, narrowly missing their hull. Jason's breath caught sharply as alarms wailed through the cockpit. Orion feverishly worked to activate the transmitter, but he needed more time. "Keep them busy," Orion shouted, sweat dripping down his face. "I'm almost done." Elysia piloted the ship masterfully, weaving between deadly beams of energy. Explosions erupted around them, rocking the small vessel violently. Despite her extraordinary skill, the enemy fighters were relentless, clearly ordered to destroy them at any cost. Suddenly, one powerful blast shook their ship severely, sending it spinning wildly out of control. Elysia struggled desperately, stabilizing the craft just moments before impact. Smoke filled the cabin, making it difficult to breathe, while flashing lights warned of critical damage. "We won't last much longer," Elysia called urgently, desperation evident in her voice. Jason made a swift decision. "Give me the transmitter. I'll broadcast from the escape pod. They won't focus on it immediately." Elysia hesitated briefly, emotion clouding her eyes, but she knew Jason was right. Quickly, she handed him the small, powerful transmitter. "Be careful, Jason," she pleaded softly. Jason took the device, locking eyes with her for a brief, powerful moment. "I'll come back," he promised. "This isn't over yet." Seconds later, Jason strapped himself into the tiny escape pod, launching swiftly away from their damaged ship. As he floated into space, he watched helplessly as Elysia continued her battle, desperately evading enemy fire. His heart ached, hoping she'd survive long enough for the truth to reach the galaxy. Inside the cramped pod, Jason activated the transmitter, entering the broadcast commands Orion had provided. He took a deep breath, focusing, knowing billions would soon hear his words. "My name is Jason Reed," he began firmly, his voice steady despite the fear gripping his heart. "I served Earth as a galactic peacekeeper until my memories were stolen by those I trusted most. Humanity's leaders betrayed us all, secretly abducting alien prisoners, experimenting brutally upon them, stealing technology, and lying to the galaxy. They wiped my mind to hide their atrocities, leaving me stranded, forgotten." His words echoed powerfully across every broadcast frequency, reaching distant planets, stations, and colonies, exposing secrets kept hidden for years. "I now remember everything," Jason continued passionately, anger and pain filling his voice. "These crimes must end. Humanity deserves better. The galaxy deserves justice." But before he could finish, a powerful impact violently shook the escape pod. Jason cried out as sparks flew around him, equipment flickering dangerously. Earth's authorities had finally noticed him, focusing their fire directly onto his pod, desperate to silence his voice. Another blast struck, sending the pod tumbling, its fragile hull cracking ominously. Jason struggled to finish his transmission as air hissed from the pod, oxygen rapidly escaping. "Don't let them silence this truth," he gasped, fighting desperately for breath. "Demand justice." His vision blurred as the pod broke apart around him, cold darkness swallowing him. Jason felt consciousness slipping, grief and frustration overwhelming him as he floated vulnerable and exposed in the deadly void. But just as his hope faded, a sudden beam of soft, familiar light enveloped him gently. Elysia's damaged ship raced toward him, swiftly catching Jason within a protective energy field. Inside, Elysia and Orion rapidly pulled him aboard, saving him just moments before death claimed him. Jason coughed painfully, oxygen flooding his lungs once more, stunned yet grateful. He looked up at Elysia, eyes full of awe and gratitude. "You saved me," he whispered softly. Elysia smiled gently, her touch tender against his cheek. "Always," she whispered warmly. Orion interrupted gently but urgently. "Jason, it worked. Your message reached everywhere. The entire galaxy is listening. Earth's leaders won't escape judgment now." Jason felt relief flood through him, knowing their painful journey had finally achieved its purpose. But the danger wasn't over. The cockpit alarms blared again as more enemy fighters swarmed around them. Elysia turned swiftly back to the controls, determination fierce in her emerald eyes. "Hold tight. We're not out of this yet." Jason sat up, strength returning slowly. He understood their battle had only just begun, but with his memories restored, with Elysia at his side, he was ready to face any consequence. They had exposed humanity's darkest secret, knowing it would change Earth forever. Now they would face whatever came next, together, courageous, and determined to survive, no matter the cost. A future rewritten. The damaged starship shuddered violently as Elysia piloted skillfully through waves of enemy fire, Earth's forces now desperately attempting to silence them forever. Beside her, Jason watched the chaos unfolding, his heart pounding with determination. Orion furiously worked the remaining systems, rerouting power and desperately trying to keep their battered ship flying. Suddenly, across every communication channel, voices began to flood in. Countless transmissions from across the galaxy. Alien worlds, colonies, and civilizations Jason barely knew existed began speaking out, demanding justice for humanity's hidden crimes. Outrage surged through the stars, a tidal wave no Earth authority could silence or contain. Jason felt awe ripple through him, understanding clearly for the first time that his words had ignited something powerful and unstoppable. Humanity's leaders, once arrogant and untouchable, were now exposed before an entire galaxy watching in judgment. But there was no time to savor the victory just yet. Powerful blasts rocked their damaged vessel, throwing Jason violently forward. Alarms screamed urgently, signaling imminent destruction. Orion shouted desperately, "We're losing structural integrity. We have minutes left at best." Elysia's eyes narrowed with steely determination. Without hesitation, she turned the ship sharply toward Earth's atmosphere, racing swiftly downward, heading directly for the headquarters where the planet's ruling council awaited. It was a risky, daring maneuver, but the only option they had left. Jason gripped his seat tightly, trusting Elysia completely. The starship burned through Earth's atmosphere, a fiery comet blazing toward the heavily guarded complex below. Earth's defenses panicked, unsure how to react as the vessel closed rapidly. With seconds to spare, Elysia leveled the craft expertly, crash-landing safely within the secured compound, tearing a blazing path through walls and fortifications. Jason coughed, emerging from smoke-filled wreckage alongside Elysia and Orion, determined and unyielding. Before them stood Commander Mills and the Council, flanked by heavily armed soldiers. Mills glared coldly at Jason, anger and desperation clear in his expression. "You've ruined everything," he growled venomously. Jason stepped forward, unwavering, eyes blazing with courage. "You did this to yourselves," he replied defiantly. "Your secrets can't hide anymore. The galaxy knows the truth." Behind Mills, screens displayed thousands of incoming messages. Alien worlds withdrawing treaties, imposing sanctions, isolating Earth's government completely. Earth's authority was collapsing rapidly, replaced by widespread rebellion and outrage. Jason felt vindication surging through him, though he knew the battle wasn't over yet. Desperate, Mills reached for his weapon, aiming it swiftly toward Jason. But before he could fire, Elysia moved faster, her cybernetic limbs reacting instantly. She shielded Jason, absorbing the blast meant for him, falling wounded to the ground. "Elysia!" Jason cried out, dropping beside her, panic gripping him as sparks flickered across her metallic skin. Weakly, she reached up, touching his face tenderly. "Jason," she whispered softly, green eyes flickering gently. "Finish this." Fury filled Jason. He rose, facing Mills, who now hesitated uncertainly. "You failed, Commander," Jason spoke with quiet intensity. "The galaxy demands justice, and you'll answer for everything." Soldiers surrounding the council slowly lowered their weapons, unwilling to continue fighting a losing battle. The commander slumped, finally defeated, eyes filled with resignation. The once powerful Earth leadership crumbled before Jason's unwavering courage. Days later, the galaxy watched as Jason's revelation reshaped Earth's future. An interstellar tribunal gathered, holding humanity's corrupt leaders accountable, dismantling oppressive systems, and demanding transparency. Jason spoke passionately to worlds gathered in unity, advocating for forgiveness alongside justice, encouraging healing instead of vengeance. Elysia recovered slowly, repaired carefully by the galaxy's finest engineers, her bond with Jason stronger than ever. Orion stayed close, his skills invaluable as they helped rebuild trust between Earth and countless civilizations harmed by human betrayal. Finally, peace gradually returned, but it wasn't yet complete for Jason. One quiet night, beneath stars he once saw only as distant dreams, Elysia stood beside him, gazing gently at Earth below. "Jason," she began carefully, her voice carrying a gentle hesitation. Jason turned curiously, sensing her unease. "What's wrong?" Elysia hesitated, eyes shimmering softly. "There's something more, one final secret hidden within your memories. I didn't want to overwhelm you earlier, but you deserve the truth." Jason's pulse quickened nervously. "Tell me." Elysia paused, gathering strength. "You weren't born human, Jason. Your true origins were hidden carefully, even from yourself. Earth's leaders didn't just fear your knowledge, they feared your true nature. You're from a powerful, ancient alien lineage. Your very existence could unite or divide entire civilizations." Jason stood stunned, absorbing her words carefully, understanding finally why his memories held such weight. "My whole life was a lie." Elysia gently took his hand, comforting him lovingly. "No," she whispered softly. "Your strength, your heart, your courage, those were always yours. They could never erase who you truly are. And now you have a chance to build your future freely, to heal wounds, and unite the galaxy." Jason looked deeply into her eyes, clarity filling him completely. He nodded slowly, embracing the truth with quiet acceptance. "Then we'll face whatever comes together." Hand in hand, Jason and Elysia stood beneath infinite stars, their story now free from deception and pain. Earth, once a symbol of oppression and betrayal, had become an opportunity, an example of redemption and hope. With their bond stronger than ever, Jason realized that his past, even stolen, had brought him exactly where he needed to be, standing beside Elysia with the strength to rewrite a new destiny, not just for Earth, but for the entire galaxy.